Well, it's the 8th of June, Tuesday, and I'm walking an unusual place today because I walked to the lake and I walked around the lake and then I had a coffee because they're kind of done the place up. And right now, I've walked from the lake back the old way toward Orizon. And I haven't walked this way in a long time. This really was my drunk trip way. I am now standing very close to the water treatment plant, coming toward it from the lake. And I'm looking at all the hills over the Trullier. And I have also got a very good view of the spot that we were standing at a few days ago, up on top, looking down over the valley here. And so it's kind of an unusual trip for me. It's good weather though, because there's plenty of clouds. It's very warm, but the sun is not out too much, so it's pretty cool. I've got a blue t-shirt and I'm wearing, as usual, the long sleeved shirt, but I've taken it off. I put it around my waist because I don't really need it. And I'm holding my red cap. I don't really need it on either. The only problem I have is my left foot. I have a big blister on my furthest left toe, the small toe. And I've had to stop a few times and just take my shoes and socks off. And back at the river, as I was walking around the river, I decided to take the sock off and try and wrap my scarf that I put around my neck. I've put that around my foot to try and, because they say you should try and keep one toe from rubbing off the other toe, because that's what causes the blister, the friction. So I've kind of tried to do something like that with my scarf, but it's still a little tricky walking. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out where that motorcycle sound is coming from. I think that's the motorway over there. It's quite nice here. It's very still. And the lake was just kind of perfect. There was kind of a class of children playing pétanque, but there wasn't really anybody at the bar, cafe, so it wasn't like queues of people. So it was good for me. Got a very nice girl working behind the counter. So right now I'm walking past the treatment plant, and I guess you can smell it. You can smell it through the audio. And I'm admiring the view from here. Because like I say, I don't remember the last time I came this way. Actually, it was a few years ago, now that I think of it, that I came to the water treatment plant and I crossed all the way across the field down there. It's the one, I think I still had my old phone, and I was trying to do a little live streaming, so there's a little clip on YouTube somewhere of me at the very far corner. I wanted to walk straight across the field, straight up by the trees, which I did. Couldn't do that now because there's a big crop. Looks like lavender, but lavender very overgrown. So I wouldn't like to be walking through that field now. You'd be cut to pieces. Today's Tuesday. Slept better last night. Managed to go to bed at 2 o'clock, I guess, and I just slept till 6. No problem with the animals. I leave the cat flap open for Bob all the time. Comes and goes as he wants. And Tuco slept well, and then I think he got up at some point and went to the kitchen, but I didn't hear him, even though he was probably just standing staring out the door, because Rosanna's in heat. And Tuco's become obsessed. And so this morning I woke up, like I said, it was around 5:30 when I woke up, and I was awake enough to think, I might as well get up and just bring Tuco for his walk, take his mind off Rosanna. And so we went for a walk at 6, and I thought it was cloudy, but the sun actually hadn't come up yet. So I got to see the sun rising over St. Pancras. That Hamo, I think that's the name. And that's not something I see very often. I've moved all my files from this device to the laptop. The next thing to do is to start uploading them for myself. And I'm starting a brand new batch here. Been doing a lot lately. I think it's a bit like the writing was. The worse the mood, the more I use these things, because it kind of helps. But I felt pretty good today. Seeing that girl today when I was getting my coffee, the girl behind the counter, and she kind of looked at me with a smile in a nice way, and my intuition was that she quite liked me. Could be wrong, but it wasn't the normal click-clack look that I get these days from most people, when they kind of look at you for less than 2 seconds and then get on with their business. There was a look of, it's kind of almost a look of recognition, but it wasn't that. It reminded me of the days of drinking in London. And it reminded me of sometimes when I'd go. It's the beauty of Ealing in London. It's such a big place. You've got great animosity. Is that the right word? Nobody knows you. And so I would, in my youth, I would be all dressed up, and I'd be wearing fancy hats and things, and I may go to the West End, or I may go to somewhere in Ealing. And maybe it'd be in a bar and there'd just be a few people, or there might be some girls. And it's just this thing, as you're sitting there, and if you catch one of them looking at you, there's that wonderful sense that they have no idea who you are. That you could be anyone. That you could be a very successful, ideal kind of guy, You could hide. And I used to like that. I used to like the notion that people may have looked at me and thought, I wonder, is he into design, or in a band, or into some kind of creative sphere? And that's it's one of the reasons why I don't really go anywhere in Orizon to the cafes or anything. Because here people know me, and there's a difference between the animosity, I can't remember what the fucking word is, the anonymity of sitting looking cool in a place and sitting in Orizon, and everybody knows, well, you're the guy from the restaurant, and it's unusual to see you without your apron. There's nothing as less glamorous, I think, as a chef. It's the most unglamorous job. You know, there you are, chopping up food all day in your apron. It's starting to rain, and I'm kind of getting close to the trees here at the end of that walk after the treatment plant. So yeah, I don't know why I've gone on about that. I think there was just something for a moment in that coffee, having my coffee at the lake, and a sense that nobody there knew me. And I guess it just kind of brought me back to the earlier times when I was going around, and especially going around in these places when you're completely single. Not that anything much ever happened, because I realize now, looking back, a guy sitting propped up in a bar on his own is, maybe depending on the way he's turned out, can be vaguely cool, but in more ways it's not cool at all. In more ways it's more kind of raises more questions, I think, for people, you know. Why is this guy always out drinking on his own? That gives you a reputation, I think. So I'm now approaching the Dishetry, and it's only been 12 minutes, but I may put this away now, just because of the rain, and I don't really want to be talking if somebody comes along. And as well as that, there's nothing much more to say. I just wanted to document this moment, because it is kind of it's kind of unique, me being here again after quite a long time. I'm standing in a spot now looking over with the Dishetry on my left, and I'm remembering on numerous occasions this was the spot around here somewhere, was the spot that I'd have a couple of swigs of my 20 centiliters of whiskey, because I sometimes didn't want to drink, obviously, if there were people around, but when I got to this part, with my back to the trees here and the canal in the background, this was always a spot where I would, without fail, have a drink, whether it was a swig of wine or whiskey or open a can or whatever. It was always just here because I'd kind of arrived in the countryside. Anyway, that's not going to happen anymore, and I will sign off. I'm heading to the Connemara and then back. Adios. Yes. Well, it's 12:10. Midnight, just gone midnight. And because it's 12:10, it means it's just turned Thursday. Thursday, the 10th of June. And I'm sitting in bed. Bob's asleep on the floor in his bed. Tuco's on the puff. And I can't really get into anything on the computer these days. I've tried to get back into Transport Fever. I do have a game up, but I haven't been able to get any enthusiasm generated for it. And so I'm going through my red very first kind of diary. I know there is another small diary which seems to have gone, which is a shame, but this is the one, Brown's Number 7 diary from 1976, and on the front page of that, the very first thing that I wrote is from the 18th of September 1978. I began the academy 2 weeks ago. I like the school very much. It's a very big school. I also began woodwork. That is very interesting too. There's carpet on the floors. My room is room N, except for science and woodwork. We do PE on Mondays and have games on Thursdays in Dr. Cullen Park. I am in 1A3. I do not mind being there. I learn a lot of subjects, and we have a different teacher for every subject. I do not know the names of all the teachers yet. The school is a very big change from the CBS, or primary. I've been in the school for 2 weeks and 1 day. And P.S. my books. So this was written on a Monday, and it's the 18th of September, so it makes sense, and it's 1978. It is kind of the, I guess, the furthest back I go, except for that little brown, very small little brown diary, which I don't know where it went. I think that may have went back a few years further. But as it stands, this is the really the first date, the oldest date that I've got, really, September. And I've been there 2 weeks in school, so that's 14th, so I would have started the 4th of September, so that makes sense. In 1978. Which is a hell of a long time ago, and being born in 66, that would have meant that I was 12 when I wrote this. 12 years old. And I find that fascinating. I'm glad I wrote something that far back. So anyway, Flo's away, as I'm sure I've mentioned in a few entries, and so I'm kind of gone off my normal routine, which would of course be doing stuff in the computer room, but now I'm on my own here, except for the 2 boys, so I'm able to sit up in bed, and I've been in a frame of mind of wanting to go back over the stuff I wrote in 1993 and 1994. Last night I went through the red book. It's another red notebook, very good condition, with the first entry being the 28th of September again, in 1989, which was when I was living in Argyle Road, and that notebook went all the way through Argyle Road to the time I spent in Helena Court, and it finished with me in Sutherland Avenue with Sue, my landlady. This was the first part of that. And tonight I want to read Notes from the Sea, which is basically all the writing I did while I was in that bedsit. I wrote every night, so I've got like 3 notebooks here that I completed in a matter of a couple of months. And I guess being on my own here without Flo has put me in that kind of nostalgic mood or something. I'm having flashbacks to being, in this situation in the past. Only nowadays I don't write so much as talk because of the devices and things we have now in the YouTube place that I can store all the stuff. And there's no telling how much I would have. Well, it's a different thing. Talking is a very different discipline to writing, because in writing I think you've got to really form thoughts in a different way, and you can't just write the same amount as you can talk in an audio device like this, because it would just be too much. So I think it gets a different result. When you're writing, you have to kind of you you sit in bed and you think about a few things, and then you try and distill it down into a sentence, and it takes a lot more effort to write pages and pages. Talking, I mean, my God, I could talk into these things all night. So that's what I'm doing. This last few days have been kind of strange, which was expected, because, well, on the Saturday I had to look after Sia for a while, which was a bit of a nightmare, and she didn't settle down, and I couldn't handle her, and so I brought her back to Juliet, who was having a party. Then the next day, Sunday, I was awake pretty much all through the night, and eventually went for a walk with Tuco at 7. The day after that, I was up and went for a walk at 6 o'clock in the morning, Tuco. And this morning it was 7 o'clock. And it's been kind of getting bits of sleep here and there, because I came back obviously from the walk with Tuco, stood up for a while, then went back to bed, slept a bit. But every time he barked or anything, I had to get up again to bring him back inside. Ozana's in heat, so Tuco's a bit odd as well. He spends all his time kind of staring in the direction of Hosanna's house, or standing at the gate. It also means I have to be very careful, and I have to keep checking on him, because I'm worried that he may get out, because maybe somebody, Audrey or somebody else, may leave the gate open by mistake, and I'm a bit worried he would get out, go over to Ozana, maybe meet Brad, or maybe get onto the road or whatever. So it's kind of bits of sleep here and there, keeping an eye on Tuco. And then today I made an attempt to walk into the Connemara at 3 o'clock, but I had to stop and come back because my feet are fucking killing me. I had a really bad blister on my left foot, on the small toe. And today I had two really bad blisters on my right foot. One on the sole and one on the little toe again. And I'm trying to figure out how I could get so many blisters. I think maybe it's these stupid flip-flops I've been wearing, or perhaps those boat shoes. I don't think it's the runners that I'm wearing, because I don't see why they would, all of a sudden start giving me blisters. I think it's the other things. I couldn't walk. I really couldn't walk. It was like my feet were on fire. And I had to stop just a little bit past the olive trees. I had to actually stop. I took my shoes off for a while, and sat down and waited, but I had to come back. And I managed to bring Tuco for a small walk. And luckily Tuco was walking very slowly and sniffing everything in great detail, so I was able to stop. But my feet are fucked. And you just can't keep going when you've got blisters like this, because you just make them worse. Like I said, I had a really long walk, which I think I have here on this first entry on this device, which I walked to the lake from here. I walked all the way around the lake. Then I walked from the lake to Orizon, and then I walked from the Connemara back home, and that was a whole day of walking in the heat and rain. And I may have got some blisters then, but you just can't. You have to give yourself the time for these things to clear up, because otherwise you just end up getting more and more. And so I've spent all of today, besides this morning, with Tuco and going for a little walk at around 7. I had fish fingers and chips for dinner. I haven't done any shopping or anything, obviously. Got lots of stuff to eat, but I don't have much of an appetite. I've got lots of monkey nuts, I've got rice cakes, I've got biscuits, cakes, lots of things, but I just seem to be having one or two kind of chocolate sweets or one or two after eights every now and again, and that's it. And it's kind of strange humor that I find myself in, really. Although I'm looking forward to going over these books. The one thing about all these diaries and things I have, I'm finding great, I guess because of the way I am, that I can put the right dates on the right times. So the part I just read here from the 18th of September 78, and I say I'm back in school 2 weeks and 1 day. I've just started the academy, I'm in 1A3. I have memories of all that, and with these books I can really put the correct day and year, especially the year, to them. And it's the same for some of the stuff in London. Like the drama centre, I've kind of figured out yesterday, it was kind of September 1991 all the way through till May 1992, and then September 1992 all the way through to May 1993. And that's when I would have stopped. And September, I would have stopped in May or something, and then I ended up in around October or November being in Sue's bedsit in Sutherland Avenue. So I can kind of put the times together. I wish I'd done more. It was never necessary to do lots of stuff, but I wish I'd done some entries every year even, to just say what was going on. Because the campaigns, for instance, in the sugar factory are a real mystery to me. I just don't know. I don't know what years I worked there. And sometimes I'm not sure whether it was, did I do 2 campaigns or did I do 3 campaigns? I can't quite, it's all a blur. I can't quite figure it out. You know? I was in Straw Hall for a while. And I think my dad had just died recently, so perhaps Straw Hall, my dad died in June. I may have got the job in Straw Hall in 1985. It may have been somewhere toward the end of that year, 85. Or it could be 86. I don't really know. Maybe 85. And then 86, perhaps 87, I did the campaign. But did I do 2 campaigns or did I do 3? I can't remember. And it's the same with some of the stuff in London. You know, I did work in the Wedgwood shop on Regent Street when we stayed. This is actually before we went to Ealing. We were in Tooting Broadway. But again, I'm fuzzy on the year. You know, I can't remember the guy I went with now, and so I don't know. Was it 86 or was it 87? I don't know. So anyway, I wish I'd kept notes of all those things, and I'm going to ask my mother about the campaign. Maybe she'll know. Otherwise, yeah, because I think it's one of those obsessive things. I'd really like to be able to put down exactly what I was doing in each year. You know, I'd love to be able to put from 72 to 78 or 73 to 78, you were in the CBS. And have no breaks in this, and then from 78 to 83, you did the St. Mary's Academy, and then 1 year in the regional college, and then 85 you did a bit of work here, and then in 86 you went to London, and you came back, 87, 88, whatever. I wish I could map it all out so that each year I know exactly where I was. I don't know why. It's just one of those things that would make things seem a bit tidier in my mind. So I didn't do the walk. I'm in this humor of reading these old notebooks. I can't get any interest in the YouTube or anything. I have some files that I put on my laptop, and I can't even work up the enthusiasm to download those to YouTube, but I will do at some point. It's been a strange week with some kind of different emotions coming through from this situation of being on my own like this. Because it's a completely different dynamic when you're alone in a place than when I'm with Flo. It's a completely different psyche, different energy, different atmosphere. I've been enjoying getting up in the mornings more than I thought I would. I've been enjoying watching the progress of the sun throughout the day, because these are, of course, the longest days of the year now. Today's the 10th, and it's amazing. The sun, the daylight starts to come in a little bit after 4, half 4. By 5 you've got some daylight, but then the sun doesn't come up until around 6. And I saw it coming up the other day, coming up over St. Pancras. And I'm also hearing, like right now, I don't know if you can hear that noise. I think it's a helicopter. But the sun then stays up in the sky, and the sun doesn't go down till near 9 o'clock, and there's still some daylight still kind of hanging around at 10 o'clock. So it's like the really, really fantastic days in length. It's like from half 4 in the morning till around 10 o'clock at night, you've got that kind of essence of daylight. You've got the twilight, and I've been following that, and they've been very long days. I don't know why there's a helicopter flying around. And that's been good. There's a sense of getting the most out of the days. I'm also learning how to do nothing. How to go through a day without doing anything. I mean, obviously you have to do some little thing, but because I thought, my God, how can I get by the evenings if I don't spend at least 3 hours on Transport Fever, or if I don't spend at least 2 hours getting into some videos on YouTube, or if I don't get hooked on the chess and spend 2 hours playing chess. And I found I'm able to get by without doing any of those things. The time just passes. It's a lot of kind of lying around, looking at my phone every now and again, doing stuff like this. The walks to the Connemara were very important, but I can't do that anymore. But even sitting out in the garden for a while, but the time just goes by, and I feel it's a good quality to be able to just kind of enjoy the passing of the time without having to be engaged deeply into something for hours and hours, and being scared of the days, you know. No, it's nice in the garden. Although, again, I kind of don't like. I don't like meeting people too much, like Bernard or whatever. So I don't tend to spend too much time in the garden, to be honest. I'd spend more time when Flo's around. Kind of wonder what a helicopter would be doing flying around at night like this. Are they looking for someone? Couldn't really be any other reason, could there? Well, I guess maybe. I was going to say if someone was needed to be airlifted somewhere, had a heart attack or something, but I don't think that's the case because it seems to be just hovering. The type of paranoid person I am, you see, you know. What I'm going to do, I know I've done it, but I'm going to check to make sure that the door is locked. Because I'm thinking about helicopters and killers on the loose. Isn't that crazy? Of course it's locked. I wouldn't mind going out and having a look, but I don't want to. I don't want to wake two guys asleep on the puff. And if he hears the door opening, he's gonna want to go out. See, the thing is, I can't see this damn thing. I can just hear it. It is possible it might be a tractor. It may be that one of the farmers here are. Again, I don't see any lights in the field. That it could be that they're cutting a crop or something. Anyway, so that's about it. I'm gonna settle down in bed here to read some stuff. Tomorrow's Thursday. We got another full day to get through. And then Friday, Saturday. I think Flo's back Sunday. Sunday. I'll be glad when she gets back. I will be glad to get back to some kind of a routine where I have to get up at 10:30 and go to the Connemara for a few hours and do stuff, and then I come back here and I walk to home, maybe have a nap, go back in the evening, and then come back at night and be perhaps more motivated to spend some time in front of the laptop. Just because at the moment it's for some people it would be a weird complaint or a weird thing to say, but it's like I've got too much time on my hands. And yeah, how are we doing? How are we doing on time here? 24, almost 25 minutes. Man, I would have filled these things up if I'd been. Well, I was thinking if I'd been using something like this in 1994, but there wasn't these things then. There would have been something maybe where you did the other one I have with the small tape. So yeah. There's also the one other thing just to finish with is I don't know when I'm going to be tired. I just have to kind of do things like this and hope that when I do eventually lie down to sleep, I will sleep. And it's been okay so far. You know, but it's been very odd. I mean, I think it was Sunday or Monday, I went to bed at 9 o'clock because I felt a bit tired, and I slept for about an hour and a half, woke up at 11. But again, I had no interest in turning on the computer, so I listened to an audio tape of the gay science from Nietzsche for a few hours, and somehow I managed to go to sleep again. But it is like that. It's kind of adventurous in terms of sleep, because even today I slept till midday, and then I think I slept at 5 o'clock till 6 o'clock or something. So sleep is very adventurous at the moment. I don't really know when it's going to come. I'm just, whenever I get tired, I sleep. But it's not. There's no there's no routine as such. There's no getting up at a specific point, and there's no going to bed at a specific point. It's all over the place. But I am getting plenty of sleep. It's not like I'm not getting enough sleep. I do make sure I have plenty of sleep. It's just it's that kind of broken up into different blocks. I guess when all is said and done, it's not really that great being on your own. I don't like being on my own. I'm alone or everything else, but I do really need flow around. I think not just for the obvious things, but it's to have that other spirit there with you. Just to have that energy, and to have someone to pass the time of day with, and to feel their presence beside you, and to make tea together and say goodnight, and be a part of each other. It's one of those things that's very, I guess, kind of overlooked when you're with someone all the time. But when they're away, you really appreciate their company. The fact that when you get up, when I get up at midday, there's someone in the other room. Flo's there, going down to have tea with Flo, or whatever, going in the car. You take these things for granted, and then when you find yourself alone, you think, God, they're important things, more important than you'd imagine. I guess that's why my mind is in that nostalgic mood of the 90s. It's not really nostalgic either. There's nothing nostalgic about most of my past, to be honest. But it brings back to mind that time in the 90s, which was very tough, because as I'm reading about the way I felt back then, one of the things was a sense of loneliness, being on my own, and I didn't like it. It's like people like me, they don't like lots of company, but they're kind of at the same time desperate and very happy to be in a relationship, very happy to be married, very happy to have a wife. You do want that kind of companionship. You don't want to be totally alone. I don't think anyone wants to be totally alone. So there you go. That's what's happening today, and now we're into, I guess it's 12:30. And I'm going to start looking at some of these notebooks and say adios. It's the 11th of June, Friday, and it's 4:30, I believe. It's been a strange few days. I'm taking Tuco for his second walk of the day. We went off at about 9 this morning. Actually, it could have been later, I'm not sure. But I haven't been able to do much walking because of my feet. Just talking about it, it sounds funny, but I've been walking around like a 90-year-old man for the last couple of days, hobbling. Kind of reminded of Steve McQueen in Papillon at the end of the movie. it's just amazing how debilitating having a couple of blisters, really serious ones, on your feet is. I mean, I just literally couldn't walk with the pain in my feet. It's like if my feet were both burned. And they're starting to feel a little bit better today, but I think that's because I haven't been walking much. And I'm walking Tuca because, to be honest, it's nothing else to do. If I don't go out with Tuca, I'll just be sitting on the couch for the whole day until I go to bed, so I have to do something. But I'm aware if I walk too much, I'm going to do more harm than good to myself. I don't know how that happened. These blisters, I mean, I wear the same kind of runners and I'm walking all the time, so I don't know where they came from. I'm just wondering if it was something to do with the blue flip-flops and other things I was wearing, like those shoes you wear on boats. I don't know. The wind is coming up because there's lots of rain around. There's a blue sky above with a kind of a black cloud in the middle. But when you look toward Lure, it just looks like miles and miles of sheets of rain. And the same when I look toward the east. I don't care, to be honest, about the rain. This type of walk, I don't care if I get wet. But I shouldn't be going too far. But yeah, it's like I've felt the last few days like it's been a kind of a warning to what perhaps it would be like if you get much older, where taking one step in front of the next is difficult. Because what also happened is, because I'm walking in a bizarre manner, when you've got blisters on your feet, and it's like I said, it sounds comical, but it's so painful. I've been walking, like I say, like Steve McQueen and Papillon. And so when I've woken up this morning and yesterday, besides the blisters, I've got lots of muscle pains and cramps because I'm walking in such a bizarre way that I'm using muscles that normally wouldn't be used in the same way. So my shins and the back of my legs, the calf muscles, are all tense because of the way I'm walking. Crazy. Who would have thought? Otherwise, I just finished reading today Notes from the Sea, the Chessmen, a thing that I wrote between October of 1993, and I finished it the end of January 1994. It's just 3 months of stuff, and it covers the time in Sutherland Avenue, struggling to pay rent, struggling to have any money, then getting money just a few days before, a week before Christmas. My check came, £997, and then it cleared about the day before Christmas Eve, and then I had it all spent by the end of January. There's certain things, Tuco. There's a jogger coming. Don't bark at the jogger, Tuco. Tuco. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, how did I spend £1,000 in a month? Especially back then, when £1,000 would have been a lot more than it is now. Funny, because now I have Bonjour. I think he's met you before too, Carl. Wasn't bothered by it at all. Yeah, how would I... Because 1,000, like I said, back in 93, it's probably like maybe 3,000 now. And I'm just wondering, how did I spend it all so quickly? Especially if I'd been in a situation where I was, living on such a small amount of money. And I was also working a bit over the Christmas in our price. And I haven't written everything down. I think even back then, like now, I tend to censor myself a little bit. Because there's always the chance somebody else comes across this stuff. I'm always aware of that. So I'm never 100%, I suppose, open. I don't know if unless I owed Claudia lots of money or if it was, let's say, I mean, even rent-wise, it's like it was €50, £50 a week for Sue. That's 200 a month. That's 600 would have been for 3 months if I'd paid nothing. I can't imagine I owed her 600. What's up, Tuco? Holy fuck, what's that? Oh, you're in the shit in the middle of the road. Huh? Oh. Anyway, I've been reading I read the whole thing this afternoon. It's interesting. I always find something in that book. It should probably be more depressing than it is, but I am somewhere inside of it all and in the midst of it all optimistic, you know. But I'm also... I recognize certain elements of my personality there, but there's other areas that are very odd for me to understand now, you know. I had this obsession with looking into people's eyes, which may be the reason why in the end I got attacked in the street one day and some guy punched me. And then a few days later I was all scarred, my face, because some guy had really cut my lip, and I was passing some woman near where Waitrose was, I think. And as she passed by me, a middle-aged woman, she laughed. She laughed when she saw me, and she says, it serves you right. Something like that. And I think I may have met her before, and she kind of said, stop staring at people. Something like that. And then now when I remember that, it makes sense, you know. If I had this idea in my head that I was going to... Somehow I was trying to generate some love and some goodness by just kind of making eye contact with people. It was absolutely no sense of me trying to intimidate anyone like that. I was really going through this kind of spiritual mood, and I just thought something had happened, probably because of smoking dope and stuff, but I was trying to create this thing where I could kind of look deeply into the soul of people and regenerate them somehow. And that's not the thing to do in a city, really. You don't want to be staring, because a lot of people are not going to realize that. They're going to think this fucker is trying to stare everybody down. But, yeah, it's a strange read. Look, the wind is getting stronger and stronger. Anyway, this wind is probably destroying the sound here, is it? I'll try and cover the microphone like that. Cub my hands over it. Today is the Tuco. Let's go this way, Tuco. There's no wind in here. Just going to the little part of the lake, the river, where I pulled the tree out from stuck in the bank that we have at home. That area, all completely dry here now. Completely dry. It used to be a little pond here full of fish and frogs and everything. And now nothing. Shall we? What do you think, Tuco? Do you want to go down? It's kind of a longer walk than I thought, but my feet, they're feeling not too bad. I may be overdoing things here a little bit. But let's walk down to the pylons from here and come back that way. I hope I don't regret this. I'm waiting for one blister on my right toe to burst. It's like a big swollen blister on the small toe. And I think when that bursts, they should all start kind of mending after that. And then I have to try and figure out what caused that. I have to be careful. Maybe it's the wrong socks or something, I don't know. How is this sounding with the wind, I wonder? So today is the 11th of June. It's Friday. And Flo will be back Sunday night, I suppose. And I am looking forward to that. This has been an interesting week. It's almost like a week of revisiting my past. And it's been okay. I've been able to kind of relate a little bit to myself from 94, 93. In some ways, not in others. But I was quite keen to meet people and have friends. I guess that's the same now. It'd be nice to have conversations with some people. But somehow, now that I'm married, it's completely different, obviously. It's not that same kind of loneliness. It's different. You've got companionship. Anyway, I'm going to switch this off. I might turn it on later because this wind can't be good. Oh, Roger, you reading me? Well, the wind's really picked up out here now, and the ship is tossing to and fro. I don't know if we're going to make it if we get another one of those big waves. It's really coming down. The storm is right over us, I think. Yeah. We've just lost the fishing boat. I've been struck by lightning. They're gone now. Do you want to go for a walk, Tuco? Do you want to go for a walk? Tuco, where are you going? Why are you going back into the other room? Why are you going back into the room, Tuco? Do you not want to go for a walk? No? No? You do. That's my boy. Okay, just to show you the weather on this day. 11 Okay, Bob, Tuco, let's go under the bed. Let's all go under the bed now. Let's all go under the bed.